What happens when the gender who most likely built the house you live in, own most of the capital, and lead practically every single country, are told that their value relies in what they produce and having people to rule over? Well, you get a generation of young men who feel as though their fathers have failed them. So they turn to guys like these for guidance as they navigate a world that tells them what to do and how to feel, but demonizes them for not fitting into the proper mold of what a man should be.
I don't mind not being seen as masculine as the men who came before me.
To be honest, I agree. The men of the past, those men were miserable with the lives that they lived. They had to work a blue-collar job. Don't let the family come from poverty. They probably working since they was 15 or 16. Don't get me started on how some of them had to go across seas to fight in the war because that was a family tradition, and that's just what men did. In reality, a lot of women be like, oh, you can't build a house. Cool, I bought one. Oh, you're not good with cars. You're not good at fixing things. Cool, I'll pay somebody to do it. There's things I'm good at. There's things I'm not good at. But I know my lane. So many of you try to come on here and try to bash men saying you're not masculine enough. Sweetheart, I'm a person before I am a man. Let me say it again. I am a person before I am a man. There's things I'm good at. There's things I'm bad at. I have bad days. I have good days. But just know, I'm gonna figure it out. But you can't shame me and make me feel less of a person.
If you're new to my channel, welcome. And if you've been here before, welcome back. Have you ever seen a character who you admired and respected, almost as if you related to this character on a personal level, and thought to yourself, wow, this is literally me? We root for them and we relate to them even though we shouldn't. These characters can range from billionaire vigilantes to serial deleters who delete serial deleters. But they're all held together by two common threads: mental health issues and a quest for absolute agency. Jung proposed that every individual has a shadow that holds the dark, unexamined, or repressed side of their personality. Some men have said they often feel encouraged to be more agreeable and non-confrontational, some even having more extreme takes and saying there appears to be a war on masculinity. Who are your favorite Literally Me characters and why? The YouTuber GroovyGhostNotes had an interesting video where she asserted that our favorite characters say a lot more about us than we realize. This is an interesting take, but what does this say about us? She cites Edward Torrey Higgins' self-discrepancy theory.
Higgins argues that the self is not referring to one single thing, but rather three. There's the actual self, who we currently are, or who we understand to be in the present moment. There's the ideal self, who we wish to be, and then the ought self, which is who we think we should be due to obligations and responsibilities and duties and whatnot. As far as favorite characters go, a lot of them fall into one of the three categories.
This was interesting for me to see because his ideas seem to parallel Carl Jung's. I do want to make it clear that my video focuses on the satirical, darker Literally Me characters that people who consume media in a more passive sense may latch onto without realizing the nuance and intention that these characters are written with.
I went and visited, all different levels of people at Wall Street, but the guys on the trading floor, when I arrived there before making the film, I got there and a bunch of them, they were going, oh, Patrick Bateman, and patting me on the back and going, oh yeah, we love him. And I was like, yeah, ironically, right? And they were like, what do you mean? So it was always worrying, even back then, but clearly, look, it's a satire on capitalism in the 80s.
Patrick Bateman represents the unleashed shadow, aka the wolf at the door, the part of us that rips off the curated mask and refuses to pretend to be civilized. I see why having a character to project onto like Patrick can be enticing to some men.
But there is no real me, only an entity, something illusory. And though I can hide my cold gaze, and you can shake my hand and feel flesh gripping yours, and maybe you can even sense our lifestyles are probably comparable, I simply am not there.
During the movie, we see him pretend to be politically correct, conform to his surroundings completely, and navigate relationships with people he despises. Patrick realizes that who he truly is contradicts who the world allows him to be. Nietzsche spoke of resentment. This is a sense of hostility people aim at the cause of their frustration. For many Western men, the Literally Me characters are an outlet for this. If a man feels powerless at his job, in his dating life, or in social standing, he could project his ought self onto characters who possess the power to competently take what they want or change their environment through force of will. These characters work as cautionary tales of what happens when will to power lacks a moral or constructive goal. On the other hand, you have characters like Batman who display the integrated shadow, aka the domesticated wolf. Characters like this use their inner demons in fear to accomplish a perceived good, which in turn allows the audience to fantasize about a version of themselves that is dangerous and respected, but controlled. These characters are often stoic and highly competent. In Batman's case, he operates outside the law to impose his own will on a chaotic world. Domesticated wolves represent Nietzsche's idea of self-overcoming, which is when they possess the capacity for extreme violence, but adequately choose when and how to deploy it. From a young age, many Western men are socialized in a way that emphasizes self-reliance, physical toughness, and the suppression of vulnerable emotions like sadness, fear, or dependency. Because he feels unable to express his struggles to others, why not live vicariously through characters who mirror that same internal struggle? Could we be seeing the wounded child clawing and scratching to be free? Identifying with Batman as he serves justice to a city who needs him, or seeing themselves in Bateman who hates himself and unleashes his wrath on the world, is a way to mentally escape a life that feels pointless. I think you should pay attention to who you align with, because it could reveal to you whether you believe the system can benefit you or if you just want to watch it burn. The hero's journey is the standard narrative structure for most Western media. This conditions men to view their lives through this lens and subscribe to the idea that they're supposed to be destined for something greater, but only if they can endure a series of trials. First, they depart from the life they're used to. Then they embark on trials and tribulations and return with glory, whether that be wisdom or riches. Maybe even a two-dimensional damsel in distress they end up wifing up, because it wouldn't be a PG-13 action movie without her. The call to adventure that we were promised as boys is rarely found. Instead of finding the most powerful gadget in the universe, or barely surviving a freak accident that gives me superpowers, instead I'm over here studying for geometry, getting left on red, and being asked to pick up the slack for my coworkers. Power fantasies teach that our problems are solved through external mastery, like getting stronger, richer, or more skilled, rather than internal reconciliation. This ideology can be harmful because it conditions men to seek external power to fix internal emptiness. Sure, external validation is cool, and it does help stroke your ego, but I believe that your mental well-being is strongly tied to intrinsic motivation. Essentially, men are unfortunately pushed to believe that their value is tied to their utility rather than their being.
Walter White has one of the most tragic stories I've ever seen, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to what he's been through. And he got cancer realizing that he didn't really achieve any of the goals that he wanted to achieve. A man so desperate for change in his life, he becomes unrecognizable by the end of the series. A lot of people want to be in those shoes. Now, something that most people have with these characters, or sometimes even with a celebrity, is what's called a parasocial relationship. It can form through a familiarity. I think we personally align with these characters from wanting what they have or deeply relating from what they've been through. But when I see characters that been through things similar to what I've been through and have things similar to what I want, I can align myself with those characters. That's the reason why all of us align ourselves with these characters. My channel is HTWL, Hawk Talk with Locks. Go ahead and follow if you guys want to see some of my content. That's all I had to say, though. I just want to thank you again, Toby, for letting me on your video. I thank you guys for listening. Have a good rest of your guys' day. Peace.
Now, I'm clearly not the media manager, so I'm not going to sit up here and tell you that you shouldn't identify with these characters. I just think your life would be better if you understood why these characters entice you, outside of them just being hyper masculine and cool. I believe that literally me characters, when interpreted to literally, can lead you down the wrong path. These characters are there to teach us the dangers of hubris, selfishness, and dark triad personalities. I'm all for taking control of your life, but it shouldn't be at the expense of others, because if it is, then you're just making others feel the same dreadful way that you once did. You don't need a villain arc or to be edgy, because all that stuff is cringe anyways. Your struggles are valid, no matter how big or small they may seem. Now, if you take literally me characters too seriously, my advice is for you to get out of the echo chamber by consuming other media that leaves you with a sense of hope and doesn't romanticize struggle. The feeling of happiness that you long for doesn't have to be something that feels as though it's always trying to escape you. Live in the moment. Focus on the here and now. Try new music. Try new things. Meet new people. Everyone has a story to tell, and everyone is worth listening to. You don't want to be this dark Sigma grind set guy who's all quiet and doesn't interact with people and thinks he's better than others for not doing so. Like, I get it, sometimes it's cool to have a little monk mode, a focus on yourself arc in life, but trust me, bro, you do not want to be that weird, nonchalant, mysterious guy who thinks they're too cool to try new things and express themselves. It's a miserable existence. Thank you so much for watching. Drop a like if you enjoyed. Comment down below what you think so we can also continue the conversation. I reply to practically every single comment. And subscribe if you're new and would like to see more.